Hey everybody, Christian Caple from onmontlake.com here to take you behind the scenes with me again, this time from the Washington Huskies 59-24 win over Washington State in the Apple Cup. It was the Huskies' first road game of the year. It was Jedd Fisch's first road win as Washington's head coach, and I'm going to show you what I saw. Now, if it were up to me, I would fly direct into Pullman and stay the night in Pullman and not have to worry about driving back and forth between Spokane. But hotel rates get a little bit outrageous in college towns on football weekends. Saw that handful of times on the road in the Big Ten last year, so it's usually not feasible. I usually end up flying to Spokane and driving from there, which is also fine. I used to work at the newspaper in Spokane, always enjoy visiting there, and this time around, my wife also had business at the game, so she came with me. Like a lot of sports writers, I pretty much only stay in Marriott properties, and when traveling in Spokane, that means staying at one of the Davenport properties. Didn't get the original historic Davenport this time. The rates were a little bit high, but we did stay at the Davenport Tower, which I also like a lot. It is safari themed, interestingly. You can see some of the fun hotel art here. And I was able to use a couple of upgrade awards to get us a suite on this trip. So that was fun. And there's the view out the window of Spokane, Washington. Went out and found a really good taco place the day before. If you do end up coming here, I would highly recommend getting the lamb. It was very good, but so was everything else. Went out for a nice dinner as well. A restaurant called Wooden City that we actually have the original one right here in Tacoma, Washington, where we live, but always fun to try the one in Spokane too. Their special was this pizza that had pineapple on it. I don't care what you think about that. It was good. We walked around a bit after dinner, and the next morning, it was time to make the 1 hour and 24-minute drive, precisely. There was no traffic because we left a little bit early, from Spokane to Martin Stadium in Pullman. I gotta say, it was pretty weird making this drive in eventually 80-degree temperatures in September for an Apple Cup. Usually it's dark, it's cold, the weather might be sunny, it might also snow. I remember driving back after the 2018 Apple Cup from Pullman to my hotel in Spokane, and it took like 3 hours, I want to say, because there was ice and snow on the roads. And I used to live in Pullman. I used to live in Moscow, Idaho for a time. So it's not a drive I'm unfamiliar with, and it is a drive that makes me a little bit nostalgic. I was in my early to mid-20s when I had those jobs and when I lived here, and it was a really fun time. I met a lot of really cool people I'm still in touch with and remain friends with to this day. I saw some interesting stuff. It was when I first got to know Mike Leach. It was the first time I was really covering a major college football and basketball beat for a newspaper and going on the road with the team and all those sort of things. And I always love coming back here. And honestly, this drive kind of reinforced what I miss about the old Pac-12. As we pull into Colfax, don't speed through here. That it was 12 institutions who all came from different regions with different cultures and different geography even. The fact that you can leave the University of Washington and drive for 4.5 or 5 hours, or you can fly into Spokane, in my case, and drive for an hour and a half, and not see a whole lot in either direction on the highway until all of a sudden you pull into this college town of a major state university where they play Power 5 conference football. And to me, that's kind of what college football is all about. So it's a bummer that Wazoo and Oregon State have kind of been left behind in this reconstructed Pac-12, and that as of right now, we don't know how many more times we're going to make this trip to see an Apple Cup. And that's kind of a bummer. I suppose, though, that on this day, that's a worry for the future, because this was a really fun environment, as you see students and probably non-students gathered outside of some of the popular college bars here, Valhalla and the Coug, a place I've enjoyed a pint or two over the years. Greek Row was active, as it always is. We stopped at one of my old favorites, Birch and Barley. No po' boy for me this time, though. I tried to keep it healthy with the salad after last night's indulgence. If I get to stadiums early enough, I do like to try to walk around and take in some of the tailgating scene. As you can see, some shots of the RVs that I'm sure some of these pulled into town on Friday night and got to party in early Saturday morning. I wish there was somewhere to go to get like an overhead shot of the parking lot to give you a better sense of the scope of it. You actually can see it decently well from the press box, but while I was waiting for Washington's team buses to arrive, we did see Washington's marching band walk past the gathering WSU students, which credit to them. They were out there really early to get the best seats, and it was quite warm, so that took some dedication. The Washington marching band did get booed, for those of you who think that maybe this rivalry has lost some of its luster. Washington's team arrival here is, of course, a little bit different than it is at home. There's no dog walk. There's no official contingent waiting to greet them. Maybe a couple parents, maybe a couple fans here or there, but that's about it. And in fact, their buses unload well beyond where the public is allowed. So the team arrival here definitely has a lot more of a business trip feel to it than it does at home, where it's a lot more interactive. There's a bunch of fans gathered there and people cheering for them as they walk into the stadium. This was a little over 2 hours before kickoff, which is about the time I head up to the press box. You get a look at just how many students were gathered waiting to get in. They turned out for this game for sure. This press box structure is very nice, especially compared to what it was like before. It shares that in common with Husky Stadium. It was built in 2012, opened in 2012 anyway, for the 2012 season, which also happened to be my first year on the beat. So I got to sit in it when it was brand new, which was cool. It's not just a press box structure, of course. The press box is on the 4th floor. If you take the elevator down 1 floor to the suite level, all kinds of luxury suites down there too, not dissimilar to what you'd see at Husky Stadium. This is the view up here. This is the football operations building, which was also a project that was underway when I was on the beat. That opened, I believe, in the 2014 season, and really modernized this stadium that only seats 32,000, but when they pack it in, it definitely gets loud, and there was an electricity in the air for this one, for sure. I covered last year's Apple Cup at Lumen Field, and it just felt sterile and corporate, and neutral site games suck, right? I mean, there's the rare exception where it's like two big-time programs that would never play each other otherwise, playing in an NFL stadium or something, and that can be fun. But when it's a rivalry game, these games need to be on campus, and being on the sideline pregame kind of underscored why. It also underscored just what's unique about an in-state rivalry in particular. There were a lot of people wearing purple saying hello to a lot of people wearing crimson who they've known for a long time. And, you know, Washington's secondary coach, John Richardson, saying what's up to a bunch of people he used to work with at Wazoo. And I'm sure there were people in the stands doing the same thing. There's also a lot of bitterness in the air. The students get here early. They've been drinking all day. They're yelling at the players. It's fun. It's what college football is all about. I feel like I've said that a few times already, but I really like this series. I like this game. As you see a shot of, that's Washington State's president right there, Elizabeth Cantwell, and some dogs. Good dogs. These teams might not be in the same conference anymore, and this game wasn't played on Thanksgiving weekend, but watch some of Washington's players come onto the field here, and you tell me if this still feels like a rivalry. The rivalry has changed in a lot of different ways, but that chant is never going away. I can guarantee you that. From there, you see some more Washington players come onto the field for warm-ups. You saw Damon Williams Jr. and Jonah Coleman. Jedd Fisch notably rocking the purple polo shirt in this game instead of the controversial gold hoodie. Perhaps that's notable going forward. I was able to get some footage as well of Washington State coming onto the field for their final warm-up period wearing the anthracite tops with the crimson pants and crimson helmet. We were talking in the press box. I wish they would bring back the script Cougars helmet on gray. That's a classic look. But when you have a logo as strong as Wazoo's, I understand not wanting to take that off your helmet either. I wasn't on the field a whole lot longer before I headed back up to the press box to start getting ready to cover the 2025 Apple Cup. As you see a collage here of some past coaches at Washington State University, Washington's band, which traveled in full force for this game, getting the opportunity to play Bow Down to Washington pregame as they always do in the Apple Cup. There's Washington State's band forming the famed Cougar head logo, and this is what it looked like once the game started. I believe this was footage of the crowd during the first offensive play, which actually was a WSU sack of Damon Williams Jr. You see a little bit later, this was a pretty awesome sunset. Again, really nice warm day in September. This was funny. Washington State, I don't know if they've done this at their first two home games, but the Glizzy glider, throwing hot dogs down. I guess if you watch the Seattle Mariners, kind of similar to their Hot Dogs from Heaven campaign, it apparently is catching on. Some more footage just from the press box here of the crowd heading into the fourth quarter, I believe, as it starts to get a little bit dark. And that's about the time things got pretty dark for the home team as well. Washington moved the ball and scored at will all game. They were not stopped. They didn't have a full possession in which they didn't score. They were 7 for 8 on touchdowns. The other was a field goal. But Washington State moved the ball pretty effectively against them through the air. Zevi Eckhouse is clearly the Cougars' best quarterback. It's still wild to me that he didn't start their first 3 games. But in the fourth quarter, Alex McLaughlin returned an interception off him for 47 yards to put Washington ahead by 3 scores. They forced a fumble on, I believe it was Wazoo's very next snap, quickly turned that into a touchdown, and a game that was only separated by 7 points became a 59-24 win for Washington by the end of the fourth quarter. As you see some of the scenes from the sideline here, this is the Apple Cup, so Governor Bob Ferguson was here to award the trophy. My wife works in his office, which is why she was on the trip there taking photos. There were not a lot of fans left in the crowd by the time this one ended, though there were several Washington supporters still in the corner of the stadium where the band is located, and that is where the team headed for the Apple Cup trophy ceremony, where the governor of Washington got to hear a very famous UW chant. The governor had a little more gusto behind his trophy presentation than I was anticipating, which I suppose makes sense. He is a UW alum. The Huskies celebrated this one a little bit, hung around, took some photos. You saw a fan posing for a selfie with Jedd Fisch there. By the way, that guy taking Jonah Coleman's picture is one of my best friends. We grew up together, went to high school, and used to work together at the Spokane Review. His name's Tyler Chumsland, and if there's a better sports shooter out there than he, I don't know who it is. Even on the road, Damon Williams has fans to say hi to after the game. This was right after he looked up into the student section and said something like, "Where did everybody go?" From there, it was time to go do post-game interviews. This was Jedd Fisch's take on the game.
Glad to have the Cup back in Seattle. Proud of our guys, proud of our team. I thought that they came out ready to play. We talked about it all week, or really 2 weeks with the bye week. This is a game that we had to win, that we had to come out and play our best football and play as a team. Love the way our guys played, really, from the get-go.
You know, I kind of thought even going into the Apple Cup last year that the energy on Washington's side just sort of wasn't really there. I mean, they talked about it being a rivalry game, but it just kind of felt like they were preparing for any old non-conference game. Yeah, that was not the vibe this season.
Just bringing it back, rewatching last year's last play, everybody that was here, trying to get the new players to really understand what it felt like, and coming out here, the fans was chirping early, especially during warm-ups and stuff, so being able to just come out here with a W feels great.
Did you guys watch that last play from last year like a bunch of times or just once? Or
a lot.
How many would you say?
It's in the facility.
From there, you probably know the drill. I went back up to the press box, wrote my story, uploaded a video of Jedd Fisch's post-game comments to YouTube in case you haven't seen it and want to. And then it was back to the Fine Arts Facility parking garage. You are not a true college football writer, by the way, if you've never navigated a slightly sketchy parking garage stairwell at some point. This was a 4:30 p.m. kickoff. I wound up leaving the stadium a little after 10:30, which isn't too bad. Got back into Spokane a little after midnight. Our flight home was a little bit after noon the next day, so got to sleep in at least a little bit, at least relative to a lot of road trips I'm going to be on this year. Minor flight delay, and it was a little bit bumpy in the air, but no big deal there. Landed back home at about 1:45 p.m., and it was back to my in-laws' house to pick up our 4-year-old who had been puking all weekend. Thanks for coming with me. If you liked the video, go ahead and click like and leave a comment. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do so. It would really help me out, help people find it, spread the good word of onmontlake.com. I'll be at Washington, Ohio State next weekend, and I'll show you what I see that day too. I'll talk to you soon.